Sam Ruthe.
There is plenty of distance between Ruthe and the rest right now.
Here he comes, Sam Ruthe. Oh my word. Can you believe it? The 16-year-old just went crazy with 100 to go. Sam Ruthe, 3:42 on the clock. Here he comes. Bring it home, Sam Ruthe. Sub 350. Can you believe it?
From the 800 meters up to the 5,000, Sam is a generational talent that just keeps improving on his personal bests. And with this year's World Junior Championships looming in Eugene, Oregon this August, it will be very exciting to see what he can do.
The 16-year-old has rewritten the history books, now holding every New Zealand under-20 title from the 800 metres to the 5,000 metres. That's 6 distances. A month ago, he shattered the record for the mile set by Sir John Walker in 1982. It's 44 years ago. The world is agog at what he's doing, but it's not just Sam Ruthe. I'm Alexia Russell, and today on The Detail, world-class New Zealand athletes are having a golden run as we head into the Commonwealth Games in Scotland in July. Last weekend, a rejigged national championship was marketed as Track Stars, and it was televised. Last month, athletics dominated the Halberg Awards, with Olympic champion high jumper Hamish Kerr also winning the Supreme Award. Reporter Grant Chapman, former decathlete and sports administrator, is now an RNZ sports journalist and has written about the athletics renaissance.
The really cool thing about athletics at the moment in New Zealand is I think Sam Ruthe and his emergence over the last couple of years has really captured the public imagination. I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that New Zealand has a big tradition in middle distance running. You go back to Jack Lovelock, Peter Snell, Murray Halberg, John Walker, Rob Dixon.
But then there's a big gap, right?
There's a bit of a gap. Nick Willis was around, probably bridged that gap. Won a couple of Olympic medals in the 1500s, mainly because the people ahead of him were taking drugs and got found out. But he was a world-class performer for us in middle distance running. But there was probably been a gap between, say, the 90s and now in athletics where it's kind of slid back. It's lost a bit of ground. I think a lot of other sports have come through in that time. One of the sports that I've been particularly involved in over that time was basketball, which has emerged as a so-called sleeping giant and is now probably one of our top 5 or 6 sports in the country. And athletics kind of has lost a bit of ground against sports like that.
So do you think it's not a case of athletics becoming, sinking, but, we've got all these New Zealand franchises for Australian competitions now, like the Warriors and the Breakers. Do you think it's that the others have risen? Yeah,
I think the sporting landscape in New Zealand has become way more diverse than it was back in the 90s. The other thing too is that athletics is one of those core sports that every kid does at school to some extent. Like, even if they hate it and they don't enter the school sports, usually they're
still got to throw a shot put at some stage.
Yeah, that's right. Their PE teacher will make them do something, athletic. So there's a connection there between most of us and athletics. So it's never really gone away, but it hasn't really found a way to develop itself, especially the profile and brand commercially, while all these other sports have succeeded in doing that.
So what's been the trigger for this renaissance? I guess, Eliza McCartney in the pole vault at Rio was a real spark, with Zoe Hobbs. Has it been individuals setting the place alight, or has there been a change in management?
Yeah, I think in the first instance it's probably been individuals. Eliza McCartney's a really good example, actually, because no one really expected her to win an Olympic medal back in 2016 at Rio.
From New Zealand, the first-time Olympian, looking very relaxed as 19-year-old Eliza McCartney. This is at a lifetime best height, Eliza McCartney. Whoa! Over she goes! And into the lead, Eliza McCartney.
Now we've got 3 pole vaulters, world-class pole vaulters at the same time. And what we've found is that if you have one person blazing the trail, it's that old saying, if you can see it, you can be it.
So it's role models.
Yeah, they've created these role models. probably just like lightning in a bottle. You know, they've got sort of these one-off performers who have really inspired others to follow them along. And I go back even as far as the 90s with Beatrice Faumuina, who's the discus thrower, world champion in discus, really blazed the trail for the likes of Dame Valerie Adams. And nowadays, the cool thing for me is that Dame Val is retired, but before she retired, she groomed her successor in Maddie Weshi, who's now also an Olympic finalist.
Oh, that's close to 20 metres. This New Zealander is following in the footsteps of the mighty Valerie Adams. That was superb. And having seen her lead relinquished, I think she's just seized it back.
World indoor, I think, medalist in the shot.
And her own sister in the Paris as well.
So, yeah, that's right. So we have now, around these once-in-a-lifetime athletes, started developing little communities of like-minded people who have been inspired by them and now following in their footsteps. That's the cool thing.
Interesting that you talk about Dame Val, who at the Helbergs was given a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's been for years our throwers carrying the can for athletics, but now we're seeing they're everywhere, every event.
Yeah.
You know, from steeplechase, high jump.
I'm glad you touched on the steeplechase, because even though we've got this tradition in distance running, steeplechase is an event that really we haven't got a tradition in. Like, we go back probably 50 years, I think, Montreal in 76, we had a finalist in the men's steeplechase. We probably had one decent steeplechaser since then, and now we've got a world champion.
That was one of the all-time great steeplechases. He fell in the heats, but he's risen to conquer all in the final. Geordie Beamish is the champion of the world.
Men's high jump is another event that we really don't have a tradition in. And I said to Hamish Kerr, how difficult was it to get started in this event when you really had nothing to emulate? You couldn't see it, so you didn't know whether you could be it. And he admitted that, in the early days when he started excelling at high jump, he really wasn't sure that there was a pathway for him to get to the top. And so he didn't really imagine himself pursuing a full-time athlete role. He studied and started looking at careers away from the sport, and then eventually people around him convinced him that he could create this pathway, which he's done. And hopefully now we will have kids seeing that it's possible and following him down that pathway.
I mean, you need those posters to hang on your wall, don't you?
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
striving for
we
it.
all had them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you particularly, former decathlete.
Well,
who was your hero when you were doing that?
I was really lucky. My parents had done athletics before me, so they knew a lot of the top athletes in New Zealand at that time. My first ever coach was a guy called Les Mills, who was a very Olympic thrower, Commonwealth Games medals, stuff like that. Went on to become the mayor of Auckland and a few other things, created his own fitness empire. My second coach was a guy called Roy Williams, who was a Commonwealth Games champion in decathlon, and also a journalist. He was the guy that I really followed. He was my role model early in my life because A, he was an athlete, and B, he was also doing the job that I wanted to do. So
it's an important thing, and I guess when you're talking about your family being supportive and also in the game. Sam Ruthe, once again, we come back to Sam Ruthe, who's got this pedigree. Is that vital?
I think it helps. Again, going back to that, see it and be it, saying, he's lived it. His whole family has lived it. His grandparents, his grandmother was I think a world record holder at one stage on the track. And his grandfather was a marathon runner who won European medals. And then that came through his own parents. His dad, while not quite reaching the same heights that Sam is at the moment, was a very, very good domestic runner, won many national titles over a variety of disciplines.
And his sister Daisy is coming up right behind him.
She could be the best in the family, She's just quiet.
Really?
She's certainly showing a lot of promise. She's very young, like Sam. She's certainly performing above her age at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how she develops over the next few years as well. But even Sam's mum was a very good runner in her own right as well. So it helps to have that collective understanding of what's required, I think. You know, one of the big things that worries me about Sam is that you would hate to have someone with this much potential and somehow stuff it up, you know?
I feel like his dad's got a handle on it, though. You know, he's not running like an adult, and they're treating him like the kid that he is. He's going back to school, and you know, there are sort of good feelings about the way he's being handled.
I think that's that is my concern, is that he's achieved so much at such a young age, and suddenly now there's this bandwagon that just everyone is jumping on now. Like, that has got to affect you as a person, as a kid. You know, like, he seems like a great kid. I've only probably spoken to him maybe once or twice.
He's got his head screwed on.
He does at the moment, but like, I worry about how having this much attention on him will affect him. I mean, it must affect you in some way, whether it's good or bad. So it's how he's managed over the next couple of years, and physically as well. You know, at this stage of his life, people are changing physically, and the ability that he shows today may be gone tomorrow, you know, with these changes. It's pretty scary. As I say, it's scary to have someone with this much potential, and you want to see them develop it to its full. Yeah. And at the moment, he's breaking a lot of junior records, and that's great. To me, junior records just say potential.
Right.
Like, if you break all these records and then never go to the Olympics, that would be a real shame, and that's got to be the end goal.
So watch the space, but don't watch it too obsessively.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because we've talked about role models and you know, the importance of family, but what about the system behind the athletes, the, you know, high performance sports people and the Athletics New Zealand? Has something changed in the management there that is seeing them get out and proactively get kids onto the track?
It kind of has. As I say, athletics is something that's at the core of most kids as they come through school. You know, most of us are dragged off to compete in school sports at some point. Even if you don't become an athlete afterwards, or a track and field athlete, a lot of those people go off to play rugby or volleyball or basketball or football or netball, any of these other sports. They might
discover that they're quite fast, but they prefer to have a ball in their hand, sort of thing.
So Athletics New Zealand have a couple of programs that help develop these basic skills, and then it's kind of left to the kids and their parents to decide what they do with those skills, whether they continue on to become throwers or sprinters or jumpers, whether they go off and become rugby players.
A new PE curriculum being developed now, actually. Has Athletics New Zealand had much say in trying to make sure that athletics stays on the agenda? Yeah,
it sounds like the new curriculum will have elements of it that are based on what athletics already does. So, and they will become compulsory as part of the PE classes. So that kind of exposure can only help athletics. But I think the main thing that they've missed over that 20-year sort of hibernation has just been the exposure. Like, athletics has kind of become one of those sports where you don't really see it on your TV screens unless it's the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games. There are a lot of sports that are like that, you know. I'm not going to name any of them. Well, yeah, you know, softball, but even softball, you know, it's probably...
But this weekend just gone, we did see it on screens because Track Stars, held at Trust Stadium out at Waitakere in the weekend, was televised.
Get set for Track Stars. Electric track and field action. Live on TVNZ.
Ruth wins it! What a race!
Stars of today and the future vie for national titles.
The crowd up on their feet.
And that was a sold-out thing, right? I mean, I had a look on the website and it said sold out. So
doesn't always mean sold out.
Oh, okay. Lots of people went, should we say that? How did they convince TVNZ to televise it?
Yeah, so that's part of where I think the improvement has come, is that they're now starting to develop a brand that they can pitch to broadcasters, whether it's Sky, whether it's TVNZ. For a while it's been streaming their own product on YouTube, and now they've had that picked up by TVNZ. I think they're lucky that TVNZ at the moment is just trying to develop its TVNZ Plus platform. So this has been content for them. It's been something that has helped TVNZ in what their business goals are, while also helping Athletics New Zealand with its business goals. So
It'd be great to see how it rates, because I know a lot of people who stayed and watched it.
Well, this was on primetime TV, which is a bit different to having an internet platform.
Yeah.
Having not really covered live athletics for decades, it was interesting to see some of the things that happened that could go better next time, like miking up a shot putter in the middle of competition. The very first thing he did was drop an F-bomb. So, and they never went back to him.
Not great.
So, those are the sorts of things that they'll learn that next time.
But have we had, I don't remember there being such a fuss about an event like this for a long time.
Yeah.
Has this event been held every year, and this year it was just, hey, the stars are out? Or?
Well, it's actually the National Championships. So, yes, it has been held every year, but
It's just marketed better.
yeah, this time the marketing of it was much better in that they gathered their best athletes and stuck them in this 3-hour window so that people can come along and see the best of New Zealand athletics in a consumable form, rather than having to turn up to a 4-day national championships and maybe have 2 of these events on each day. Instead of having them spaced out, you kind of group them up, and it was a promotable product. So in that way, it was great. And you had, by and large, the best athletes available, a lot of Olympians, a lot of world champions. I think the people that were there, especially the ones that actually aren't athletics people, the ones that just came along to have a look at these, they will have appreciated the product for what it was. People running fast, jumping high, throwing, making loud noises.
Razzmatazz.
Yeah, maybe the hardcore old school athletics supporters out there, they will have picked that event apart a little bit. There's some, as I say, there are some things that could go better, and next time they will.
The great thing about an event such as Track Stars is people getting to see these incredible sports people up close in action. It reminds Grant of the 1970s and 80s, the John Walker era, when international track champions came to New Zealand to race. He was there then with his autograph book.
The funny thing was, when talking to Hamish last week, Hamish Kerr, about the development of athletics this year, and he was telling the story about he'd been to a meeting in Christchurch recently, and there were some athletes there who were good athletes, but they weren't world-class athletes. He said they were leaving the venue and all these kids started swarming them for autographs, and they were completely like, what's going on here?
Wow.
Why do you want my autograph? And Hamish is trying to tell them that you are inspiring these kids. Yeah. And that's the kind of interaction that has been maybe missing over the years, and the more opportunities you can create for that to happen, it can only be good for the sport.
So there's been a bit of momentum. We had the Halbergs where athletics cleaned up, really.
High jumper Hamish Kerr has claimed New Zealand's highest sporting honour at the Halberg Awards last night, being named Supreme Winner. Also, to boot, his coach, James Sandilands, was named Coach of the Year.
And we've had, obviously the indoor meet that Sam Ruthe set the world alight. We've got the Commonwealth Games coming up, and for Sam Ruthe, we've got the World Youth Games.
Yes, so Sam actually qualifies for the World Juniors, which is under 20s. Last year we had a World Junior champion in the triple jump.
17:01, so he consolidates his lead. For Ethan Olivier, it was an Oceania under-20 record.
What?
Which is another event that, the national record from the triple jump goes back to the 70s.
What is next for this group of athletes?
Yeah, so the next thing on the program is this month is the World Indoor Championships in Poland. So we don't have an indoor facility at all in New Zealand. A lot of these athletes have qualified running outdoors. So in indoor meetings, they don't have 100 metres, they have 60 metres. the promoters of the summer circuit around New Zealand this year have been putting on 60-metre races so their athletes can qualify.
Okay.
So Zoe Hobbs will be there. Tian Welpton will be in the men's 60. Hamish Kerr will be in the high jump. I think he won this title 2 years ago. I think he got a silver last year. Tom Walsh is the reigning men's shot put champion indoors.
But Tom Walsh has already secured a gold, a 6th medal from 6 World Indoor Championships. He is a true great of the shot.
We've got 3 pole vaulters, 3 women pole vaulters qualified. Each nation's only allowed 2 in each event. So there's a little bit of a scrap going on amongst those 3 now to see who can go. And Eliza McCartney, I think, has got her nose in front. She actually won the national title on the weekend with a vault of 481, which puts her second in the world this year.
Wow.
And puts her ahead of her 2 mates in terms of selection. So,
And after this Com Games in Scotland.
Yep, in Glasgow, which is one of those events that, as I say, athletics has done better than any other sport for New Zealand at the Commonwealth Games, both in terms of medals and in gold medals. So that is another opportunity for them to showcase what they do. And that's where you also get to start to see the next level coming up, because a lot of athletes aren't selected to go to the Olympics. That's the best of the best. But the Commonwealth Games is seen as a nice stepping stone between being a national class athlete and an Olympic class athlete.
So would you say this is another golden era, past the, a leapfrog from when we had Sir John Walker and all those amazing runners, that we're entering another golden era of athletics?
I think we have, but I think it's a different era. It's not defined by middle distance running, even though Sam Ruthe is on the tips of everyone's tongue. It's now more defined by the diversity that we offer in the sport, and the fact that we have high jumpers and triple jumpers and shot putters and pole vaulters, the events that we don't have the same history that we do as distance running, and which is why it's been a little bit more difficult for people to get their heads around the fact that Kiwis can actually be good at these things.
That's it for today. The Details are newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. This episode was produced by Gwen McClure and engineered by Phil Benge. Thanks to Grant Chapman. I'm Alexia Russell. Mā te wā.